Hey folks, it's Danny. Now, regulars at my channel will know what a huge Prince fan I am. Genius musician. Genius! Just genius. Genius. The genius. A genius. That's genius. Genius. That's genius. But this week I'm bringing you an extra special treat. A classic album style breakdown of Prince's original 24-track recording of Let's Go Crazy from the Purple Rain album. Now this song is a brilliant example of one of Prince's many characters, the fuzzed out rocker of Bambi fame. The tune is built on a basic blues scale riff that could have easily found its way into our lives through Deep Purple or Black Sabbath. But as with everything Prince plays, it just comes out funky. It was also a medium for Prince to showcase some sensational guitar histrionics, that super hooky pop guitar solo, and then that wailing outro. Anyway, let me reveal what else I found under the hood. The secret behind the fuzz. Here's Prince's main guitar part. So much gain he can't quite keep the guitar quiet in between the notes and phrases. But here's a second guitar doubling that riff. It's so completely overdriven and recorded so hot into the desk that the recording of the guitar actually cuts out for a split second every time the VU meter peaks upon the pick attack. Have another listen. But wait, there's more. Check out the bass guitar track. Same fuzz pedal on the bass. Then there's Prince's signature funky chords played alongside that riff, like a call and answer thing. Clearly that track has a healthy dose of fuzz on it as well. I really love the subtlety in those chord parts, the way that every second time they're played slightly differently. So you've got the verse part, and the chorus part. Clever man. Alright, next up, complex harmony. The next thing I noticed in this is some incredibly complex harmony going on in the pre-chorus section. I always wondered what these notes were. This has been fantastic for me because I used to play this song in the very first band I was in as a kid, the first working band, and I could hear all those extra notes going on, but I could not work out for the life of me what I should be playing to try and cover that on a single guitar. So the basic chords for this section are a C sharp, a D sharp minor, a B, and a C sharp. Are we gonna let the elevator bring us down? So both the super fuzzed out guitars are playing those notes and the fuzzy bass is playing the root notes for those three chords. Pretty basic. We're in F sharp, we go to the 5th, the 6th, the 4th, the 5th. Nothing too unusual going on there. However, that third guitar does something quite bizarre. Instead of playing a C sharp, D sharp minor and B, it plays F, G and E flat. Okay, seems really weird and really random. I can kind of make sense of this because, you know, we can play a power chord or a 5 chord over a different bass note to give us a different type of chord. So for instance, playing that F, if we play an F5 chord, an F power chord, over a C sharp, we get a C sharp, C sharp major 7. If we played an E, just like if we played an E power chord over a C sharp, we get a C sharp minor 7. So we know that stuff. Oh, you didn't know that? Ooh, note to self, make a vid explaining that shizzle. So Prince is playing entirely different chords, 2 tones higher than each of the chords the rest of the recording, the rest of the band are playing. And that would make sense if he was trying to create 3 major 7th chords. But there's 2 things that are at odds with that already that make that quite complex in terms of this song. Number 1, the 5 chord in the key, the 5th chord or the dominant chord, whatever you want to call it, which is C sharp in the key of F sharp, should not be a major 7th. If it's going to have a 7th, it should have a flattened 7th. Okay, let's not go too deep into the theory, but trust me, a C sharp major 7 is from a different key. Our ear is surprised. But the other thing that's going on, which is super weird, is that the guitar isn't just playing an F power chord or an F5 chord, it's playing a full F chord. You can actually hear the 3rd, it's like that voicing. So that means that our C sharp chord now has a major 7 in it, and it also has a sharp 5. So that gives us what's called polychords. That's where we're playing 2 different chords at the same time. So it's not just 2 very similar chords that add an extra note, which is what would happen if it was just playing the 5 chord, the F5, over a C sharp bass. We'd have a C sharp major 7. But this is an F and a C sharp being played at the same time. So that's really bizarre. I don't even know how to demo a polychord here on one guitar, but if I try to play 3 notes out of both a C sharp chord and an F chord, so the voicings clash even harder with the next chord, because the G, playing a G major over a D sharp minor, gives us so many semitone dissonances. That's where we're hearing 2 notes right next to each other, like an E and an F right next to each other. So in that example, we've got a D sharp and a D, an F sharp and a G, an A sharp and a B. That's all 3 pairs of notes are right next to each other. If we tried to play that in one key, on one guitar, I could probably do it with a capo. But if you thought the bizarreness was going to stop there, Prince's vocal melody adds yet another twist, because he's not singing a note that's in either the C sharp chord or the F chord. He's singing an A sharp note. So that's the 6th. It's from the original key, but it's the 6th of the C sharp. So now we've got a C sharp 6 with an F over it. It's just getting more and more complex. Actually, those vocal harmonies rate a mention too, because you've got Prince singing the A sharp, the female vocal harmony is singing an F natural, and the lower male vocal harmony is singing a G sharp. If you listen to that bit just by itself,
am I gonna let the elevator bring us down? Oh no,
it's a lovely sound. But altogether, it just sounds amazing, even without doing any EQing. These are just the raw tracks. I haven't even begun to add the effects like the echoes and things that are so brilliant on the original recording. I haven't done any EQing. This is what was recorded. There's all the spill in the mics. I haven't cleaned anything up. I haven't done one iota of actual mixing, but I turn all these on and it already starts to sound amazing. It's so good. Okay, that polychord idea also happens in another part of the song. In the in the sustained chords section that precedes the first guitar solo. So the fuzzed out axes are just playing an F sharp 5, come on baby, E5, D sharp 5, and back to the E5. But over those first two chords, that third guitar again is playing some different chords. It's playing a D sharp 5 over the F sharp, giving us like a F sharp 6, and then a C sharp 5 over the E, giving us an E6. So yeah, once again, really cool. Alright, next, Prince's guitar solo. Check out that slinky little Hendrix bend. So cool. He's already got the B string bent and then changes to the G string to release the bend. The guitar tone on this lead break and on the outro solo involves the use of an octave pedal adding a lower note to each note Prince is playing. But Prince again does something interesting with this, which when I was a young guy really went against the grain with me. He puts his modulating effects prior to his distortion or overdrive effects in the signal chain. And this creates a little bit of a harshness. It gives more of an edge. Now, as a young guy, you know, I was undoubtedly moved by Prince's playing, his songwriting and his stage presence, and I was absolutely in awe of everything about the guy, guitar playing included. But at the same time, my other heroes were all the long-haired rockers, you know, Eddie Van Halen and Richie Sambora and Steve Vai and all these guys that had these amazingly smooth tones. So they'd taken all the edge of having distortion that Hendrix and others came up with in the 60s and 70s, and they'd smoothed it out by getting their signal processing just right, their amplification and their miking and everything else. So I used to listen to Prince and I'd be amazed, but I used to think, oh man, if only he'd swapped the order of those effects. But now, in hindsight, I'm just so glad he did things the way he did, because it's like he snubbed his nose at the way the rest of the world was going. You know, he was a blues rock player, but he was more like a reborn Jimi Hendrix than a new wave Eric Clapton. You know, he was railing against what I think the rest of the distorted rock world was doing, which was getting very, very clean and more processed. And he was more edgy and more punk and really just stuck to his guns, and it just sounded rude. You know, his guitar, his distorted guitar was so aggressively in your face. It was amazing. Right, the next section, which I just call the Bizarro World Breakdown section. As a wide-eyed and even wider-eared teen, I just loved the full version of this song, and this just twisted instrumental section. I desperately tried to copy Prince's atonal, dissonant piano playing that I heard on this, and he did it on a couple of other songs as well, even much later in his career, like on Party Man and things like that. Yeah, I've got old 4-track recordings of myself with my mum's piano playing these as dissonant as possible little piano stabs, trying to sound like this. But this is amazing. So the section that leads into this is almost Zappa-esque, which Prince continued to do throughout his career. On Musicology, there are some very Frank Zappa style phrases and chord voicings and, you know, huge polychords that just sound like they're straight out of Zappa recordings. But the other thing this phrasing reminds me of is Eddie Van Halen. And, you know, it was around the same time, 1984. So I don't know who heard who first, but if you think of that phrase, it's like the same phrase but opposite of what Eddie is doing in Drop Dead Legs after the chorus, that great little it's the same thing. It does it a couple of times, then it goes up in pitch and the phrases become closer together. I love the idea that one of these giant legends inspired the other. Then the guitars and bass go into this Mr. Gone style progression at like a gospel shouts pace. Over which Prince plays that mental piano comping. I love that. It's so good. All right, the next bit, the post-BIZARRO world breakdown. Now, this bit is hugely interesting to me because it illustrates the push and pull that's always present in every great band and great recording. It's what makes real music real and move us, and, you know, it's the stuff that's really, really hard to put into words. So what I mean is, if any of you have tried to make your own home recordings, and I'm sure many of you have, it doesn't matter how perfectly in tune you play and sing, it doesn't matter how perfectly in time you play and sing, it still always comes out a little bit less vibrant or vital than when you get some mates together and show them your song and get a half-assed recording of that. So yeah, the quality's better when we do it at home and we can go, no, I want this note exactly here and I want that phrase exactly like that. But the life tends to get sucked out of it. There's very few people that, you know, it's kind of almost a one-hand list. Your Stevie Wonder, Prince, Jacob Collier, that can play every instrument on a recording and not have it sound somehow smaller and less vital. And it's because we all feel things slightly differently. So where I feel a note should be when I'm in the moment and I'm feeling a song could be quite different to where you feel that note should be. I'm not talking about a 16th or even a 32nd note apart. I'm talking about minuscule, minute little differences in where a note might fall. You know, if you could look at a song under a magnifying glass and see where the click is and where the kick drum actually ends up being and where your guitar chord ends up being, it's all going to be slightly different on the start of the beat or the end of the beat or right on the beat. Everybody has their own little feel. That's what I'm talking about, the push and pull or the crosstalk, that interaction of humans. Anyway, check this out. So the fuzzed out guitars are playing aggressively ahead of the beat. But then listen to that third guitar. It's got that perfect behind the beat groove that makes the whole thing just swagger. It's rock, but there's that undeniable funk swing to it. Listen to the percussion on this synth track. The whole song has a swing feel about it, like a 16th note swing, but this is dead straight. That's that push and pull. And have a listen. This is the lead vocal track. During this section, Prince has grabbed the tambourine. So leading on from that, I can't actually decide whether all guitars on this recording are Prince. If I had to guess, I'd say they are. A lot of online sources credit Brown Mark as playing the bass on this song, and Wendy as playing the guitar. But look, the two fuzzed out guitars are most definitely Prince because they're playing the same part. They're playing it in the same way, on the same spot as far as a groove or a feel goes. And they've both got guitar solos in them that are quite similar. So it's like, it's almost like two takes that Prince has kept. One's that mega clipped, fuzzed out sound. And then the bass, you know, with that fuzz on it, that sounds to me like something Prince would do. And And the playing, it's almost like not a bass. There's a couple of spots where you can hear it slap, but otherwise you could be forgiven for thinking that it's just Prince's fuzz pedal, octave pedal with the direct signal dialed right down and played with a pick. But yeah, look, I feel like that. I feel like Prince is playing the bass, and that third guitar, that's the one that's harder to tell. It's got that difference in feel that I just talked about, but we know Prince is capable of that. It sounds like a different instrument. It sounds like it could be a different guitar, maybe Wendy's Rickenbacker, but it's hard to tell because everything's got all that fuzz on it. But the thing that makes me think it's still Prince even playing that one is during the Frank Zappa style phrasing, where the song is a little bit trickier to play. There's a few fluffed notes and missed notes and muffled notes here and there, and they're almost identical on all those three tracks, making me think it's the same hands playing all three guitars. So another thing about this is I love that it's pretty much a live recording. You know, after Prince's ripping guitar solo there, you can still hear the octave pedal is switched on. As he goes back to start playing the rhythm part, he goes down to a C sharp chord, and you can hear that it takes him a second to hit that octave pedal and turn it off. Have a listen. Alright, so look, I hope you loved that. I've had so much fun pulling this apart, and it's amazing. I could sit forever listening to the individual performances on these tracks and wondering how Prince came up with it and trying to put myself in the moment of the performance. I will do another video related to this because I've always wanted to do a tutorial on that outro solo. I can't find anyone on YouTube that's nailed it. There's certainly lots of great players doing great versions of it, but you know, having the ability to solo that track here, I've already written it out. I just need to practice it up a little bit for you guys, and I'll do a little clip about that one too. But thanks for watching and joining me on this journey, sharing my love and adoration of this great artist of our time. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to comment, don't forget to give me some support, guys. It's really hard to get this stuff done, to put aside time from earning money to actually doing this gear.